now.
Here we go.
Just go up to the board and the TV.
Alrighty, so just invoiced everything for the summer, so we have about 19,000 in billables out right now. Some of them are saying they're going to pay us pretty quick because they have matches coming up that we're not going to provide refs until they have, because some of these invoices are from June still. As far as ERRFU, everyone's probably wondering about that. I'm trying to make that happen because of the large portion of what we have right now would be used up. So we need some functioning capital. So I'm talking with Glendale about that. They're supposed to be paying us in the next week or two. That's kind of what we're at.
So what you're
ARs.
saying, we haven't paid anybody for ERRFU yet.
We have not paid anyone for service.
And how much does Glenda owe us?
$6,500.
Okay. Is that part of your 19,000?
Yep. Yep. And I'm working with the city manager on that, so they should be coming through pretty quickly on that. And it was all pre-approved, but it's pretty much all going out to everyone that was there. That's $6,500. So, as far as the solo shop goes, it is still my pain in my ass, I guess you could say. Every time I talk to them, they say, "Oh, it's going out next week," and then it doesn't happen, and they say, "Oh, we're backed up in orders." So the last thing I heard is it's going to be coming out first week of September, which is this week. Still don't have any tracking numbers. So that's where we're at with that. Any questions?
That's the right answer.
For the new people that have just arrived, have you registered with CIPP yet? Chris?
No.
Oh, sit by Steve. Can I have a seat by Steve, Chris?
I know, he just pointed at me, so I will. I'm a Walmart.
I'll take that.
No, what's the next one, Gary?
Do you have it now?
What?
We have finally gotten the new system up and running. Sorry.
Yes.
Get your mark, Gary.
There's directions, great. We have finally, as of a couple days ago, gotten the new system up, and Stu swears it's up and running correctly. And guys, if you knew how much about 3 or 4 people have put into the back end of this, you would be amazed and appalled at how much work this is. Write it down, save it in the paper, RockyMountainRugbyRefs.com. The ERRFU site is not currently linked, correct?
That's
Correct. The only information is on RockyMountainRugbyRefs.com. We think we have what do we want to call it, the notification
Yeah, it looks like it's...
piece. It looks like it's working.
Calendar.
Did some of you guys who've got assignments for this weekend get notifications?
Yes.
Yes, I got one.
Calendar invites.
Calendar invites.
I confirmed everybody we sent one to, so yes.
I got 2 of them actually for the same one.
You're very lucky.
Look, you got 2. Oh, it's probably because there's a change, so did I. If there's a time change, it'll send
You
you
did say it updated, yeah, because I think, Steve, once we figured out the time zone issue, yeah, so.
So the biggest thing right now is availability and assignments. There's a lot of people who have not filled in the availability document, Tom Coburn. So we need to get that sorted out, please. If you are not on the availability doc, you're not even, I don't know that you're available. I won't call you looking for you to do games. It's simple, it's a Google Doc. It's on the bottom of every single union email you get from us. You probably get 3 or 4 a week. And now for the sort of bad part of my little speech. A lot of people in this room and in our society did not get game assignments this weekend. And a lot of people did. You did not get a game assignment if you have not CIPP registered, period. We set the cutoff date as the 31st to be registered. If you didn't have it done by the 31st, no game assignment. We currently have one game unassigned because we don't have a ref.
Chris Brewer's gonna register.
So we just signed up.
What day is it?
Saturday. You already have a game.
No, I said I wasn't available, but that might change.
Okay.
Well, Mike doesn't help.
It said available.
Depending on
Huh?
the game.
You had it why?
No, I'm not available this weekend.
Said you did.
No,
Wolf has now.
no.
Is there somebody next to Wolf that has a Y?
No.
Almost the entire rest of the time it does.
All right.
Why is it ends like very?
I'll fix it. Write that down.
Does Wolf have a game on there?
I don't have a game on
Yeah,
there.
he
No,
does.
not yet.
He did.
You don't.
He did on my
Here.
paper. So, guys, it is mandatory this year that you be, not only have to do CIPP registration, there is a background check that comes with it. This is not for a top secret clearance, we're not gonna know everything about you. Eric, can you basically give me a little help here? It's a basic background check,
Yes.
so that you can be around children.
So that you're not a child molester.
Yes,
Or a sexual offender?
or a sex offender.
I have a pretty shady past. I pass.
Randy, you're out. Guys, this is Eric, back me up again, U.S. Olympic Committee, USOC requirement.
Correct.
This is not negotiable, and what some people have been told around the country, who have said, well, I'm not gonna do this, you don't have the right to invade my privacy. We're a private organization, and yes, we do. We're not invading your privacy, we're making sure that our participants are safe in this.
And I'm
From scumbags, exactly. If you're not gonna do it,
It's a very strong
great.
strategy. Very strong.
but you will not get a game assignment. We cannot do it. So we're gonna have to lead the nation on this. Now, having been the bad guy, any
I'm talking about
questions?
coach, not about doing.
Can I say a little bit about, we got time to talk about these background checks a little bit? Anybody here in the room hold a professional license? Okay? You've been background checked. I get one every year with work. I coach at the Air Force Academy, there's number 2. I hold a concealed carry permit, there's number 3. I just had to renew it, that's 3 this year.
You pass it.
Yes, and I can go within 1,000 feet of school too.
Never committed.
It's not personality.
Guys,
Personality.
who in the last year has been pulled over by the cops? Come on. Instant background check to make sure you're not a scumbag. Anybody right there. That's basically all this is. Not a whole lot more than running you through NCIC. Okay? If you hold any, John, you probably had one for your CDL.
If I have the CDL.
You still don't have it?
Fine. Just try it.
I may have.
A perfect example, if you fail your background check, you lose your CDL.
Nobody seemed to have a problem with it in our society, but other places have, and it's not optional.
Okay, the question then, does that mean the ARs and whatever else that's associated with the game but not in the
Everybody, coaches, players.
Well, hold on,
everybody,
Eric, does an AR or a coach needs insurance?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What about background?
Absolutely.
And background check.
If a player breaks his neck on the field and says, you made it an unsafe environment, and he taught me how to tackle wrong, and you weren't doing anything all game, everybody's in the
Or
line.
if they call it shotgun litigation, that's where they just sue everybody inside.
Free coach?
Huh?
So everyone.
I got sued, I was someone took to sue me as the event organizer, so.
That makes sense.
There you go,
It
Jim.
was those Supreme Court guys, wasn't it?
That's schedule.
Guys, any
College
questions?
girl who claimed she didn't want, somebody forced her to be in an ambulance. When no one forced her to be in an ambulance. She took an ambulance ride, her parents gave her a $1,500 bill, and she took it.
So, we will start getting the coach assignments done over the next few days. If you have a preference, please get it to Gilligan, myself, and whoever else. Who else needs to get it, Mark?
What?
The coaching preferences needs to come to me.
Tim.
Tim? Other than, anybody any questions about what we're doing schedule-wise or assignment-wise?
Coaching preference for like the mentor thing, or are you talking for matches?
Both. We will do
I'll
that.
talk about that.
I'm sorry?
I'll talk about RDO stuff.
Okay.
why the CIPP dues are what they are? Everyone got any explanation on that? Why it's $120?
I think Billy can send out an email with
Yeah,
describing this and discussing that.
I mean, no one's, is there, I mean, it's gonna be tough to recruit, but one of this room's not.
It's reasonable.
Yeah.
I think this is insurance.
I asked Gordon, he said, yes, it is under slate.
Okay,
Is that $45 for the background?
it's $25 for the insurance policy and $20 for the background check, and then $75 of it goes to ERRFU dues,
Yeah.
of which ERRFU will get all that back except for $500. That $500 will be held in a savings account for games that we need to get covered for, like, if we need to go to Grand Junction and the ERRFU, the union, needs us to cover it and we're not covering it, and then we'll pay for a flight. It's like a kiddie. They're going to match 3 times that, so it's going to be $1,500 in the savings account held by the union, Rocky Mountain Rugby, for games to cover in Utah or games to cover in Glendale, or not Glendale, Grand Junction or something like that. Or if we need to bring a ref in for something. But the other $75 of your money,
Regular dude.
all that $3,000, whatever, will come back to Ryan in the form of a check after, from Bobo, from the union, and we'll use that. That's just part of you guys paying dues. Like Jimmy used to pay me $75 for the check, and we used to withhold stipends from everyone until you're $75 in dues paid off. So now you're just paying it up front.
I have an idea for recruiting purposes on that we can talk about.
Okay.
afterwards.
Go ahead.
I mean, we usually don't charge the referees the $75.
Yeah.
So obviously they're gonna have to pay it, so why don't we reimburse them that $75 back?
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Pay it upon Steve. So like if
Like if they do two
Bill,
matches or something, then they get reimbursed.
yeah. So if Bill, as Bill, right?
Yes.
Bill, you join us. You go sit, register after
He's
your.
already done it.
Well, whatever. Well, whatever. After his third match.
Right on, Bill.
After his third match, then we'll give him a $75
Yeah.
back. I don't have a problem with that.
In kit.
Everybody got that? Everybody clear on that?
Just it'll make it easier for us to recruit.
Yeah.
Hey, come take this course, pay $120 and then referee.
And then referee 3 games. You get your stipend, you get also your kid allotment, and you get $75. So you can actually make a lot of money. Okay. Jackalope, Tom.
What do we have going?
So, usually how it goes is the jackalope was always kind of refs who weren't getting, what? Oh shit.
Nice job.
Clock.
The jackalope would turn before Aspen, and we usually send the refs who are kind of working a referee in Aspen or whatever, but now that's all as small as well. It's only 4 refs going, because one of them's doing an exchange. So the people we had going, I think was Stu, yeah, Chris Huff. Again, this is all dependent on if they register or not, so we don't know. Chris Huff, Eric DeCreef, Stu, Scott Baker, and
You're coaching.
one more. Dave Fells. That's kind of, we had an EC got together and said this is what we're doing. So, by show of hands, who would like to go, in case Eric, Chris Huff,
So it's
so registered, it's next weekend. Yeah. It's a small tournament, it's windy.
I should be back by the 13th from Germany, flying on the 11th, September 11th.
Sometimes it's nice and sometimes it's not.
Yeah, big chapstick. I've never been as a referee, so.
It's been, I went last year, it was good rugby until the tornado.
So John, maybe you.
Tell you what? Tornado.
13th doesn't work for me.
Saturday.
Yeah,
Okay.
Saturday night.
Okay, all right.
I'd like to, but.
So we're gonna bring those 4 up with the English guy, and then,
And we take Dean also, he can coach.
I don't know what they'll do.
Oh, he's paying us on the way.
Sure enough, we can't tell them what to do. Should I stay right there with Aspen, or are you gonna do that?
What?
You gonna talk about Aspen?
I don't have the list on my computer right now. But it's in here someplace.
Well, everyone knows that,
Right now at Aspen, we may have 16 per division, we may
matches, or 12 matches. It'll be either on one pitch or two pitches. One pitch will be Rio, the other pitch is someplace else in the valley. Saturday is the same way. Either 6 pitches, 6 teams or 8 teams, and the same number of games. Sunday will be a more normal schedule with finals and
10-game schedule, 3 go off.
yeah. So that's what we have. It's been a hard time working with them. They're under new management more or less this year. Wagner pitch has been torn up and is being redone. So the whole thing's up in the air. They did push to have any teams come because there's no place to play. So that's what we have. So based on that, if we only have 6 games Saturday, 6 games Friday, and 6 games Thursday, we don't need the whole society up there like we've always done in the past. So, and Aspen's always cover our expenses for hotel rooms. Well, if they only have 6 teams coming, they can't afford 17 hotel rooms, or how 17 is what we usually got, right?
Yeah. We usually get 17, we still have 17 in reserve, which we're using 6 and 2 apartments. And I think that we have other rooms available, so if you want to come up for the weekend, by all means, it's $70 per person per night, so the room is $140. So I think Rich Cortez got a room, Dave, sure you got a room?
Oh, yeah,
That's fine too. By all means, that's fine. You're welcome. I mean,
Was it nicer?
so if you want to come up and you're not on the list, call Craig or Steve in the Mountain Chalet, mountainchalet.com, or Google it, get a room, and just put your credit card down. Right now, the 5 referees we have there are Steve Gore, Goldhammer, Ryan Haggerty, Brian Zapp, and Scott Baker. Steve wears a large, not bringing those. The other is not playing golf. Goldhammer wears a large, not bringing, so not playing golf. Haggerty is not bringing Maggie, extra large, is playing golf. Zapp, medium, bringing Shauna and Murphy, and not playing golf. You wear a medium.
You bring your puppy too?
Not sure yet.
Okay.
We'll bring it up?
Yeah.
Thought Murphy was the puppy.
The ARs are Geiger, large, Lindsay, no golf. Hernandez, large, Dan, no golf. Hartzell, extra large, no significant other, and no golf. Greg Wolf, large. Jersey. Angel, no, yes, you're playing golf. Chris Brewer, medium.
Sure.
Medium jersey.
Large, I don't know.
You're getting medium.
Alright.
See, it's perfect. I'm sitting down.
I'm ready for the season.
Chris Brewer, you're not bringing a significant other, and you're not playing golf.
Correct.
You'd like to play golf.
Would you? I'm horrible.
I don't care.
Are you missing a?
How much is it,
We
75?
have 14 people playing golf.
If you guys don't care, I'll suffer.
It's a scramble.
I'm ready.
Might be on it.
John Kenny wears a large.
Yeah.
No, is it Linda? Karen. And not playing golf.
I'm only available Friday on, is that right?
Thursday afternoon.
No.
Okay.
Are you coming up on Thursday?
Yeah, I'm going Thursday
I'm
afternoon.
curious about your Craigslist for Insta Cena or what's up?
Okay, so I'll change that.
Okay.
The coaches are Coburn, Nelson, Hatchuk, Tim Luscombe, and Jim Russell. We're all playing golf, so we're Tim. Dan's not very other, Tim's not very other. We all wear large except for him. Gilligan wears a double X. And yeah, so does anybody have any questions? For the I mean, whichever's coming up. John, will you be up there, Jim?
Thursday night, we're having a meeting, I'm assuming, for assignments.
Thursday night meeting will be at 9. Every other meeting will be at 5. Up in one of the apartments, 3:30. We don't hit 4:30.
That's not necessarily true if we've got games still going.
Well, half hour after last kickoff, after full time. Or 45 minutes after full time on the last game.
Assuming we're not down valley.
Whatever.
It's gonna be a flexible weekend, guys. Just think of it as
They can post the assignments, so if you miss the meeting, you can still see if you're assigned.
Oh, if
Again,
you
we're
miss
not-
a meeting, you're in
No
trouble.
half measures.
Well, if you're commuting back from.
No excuse.
Run faster.
It is a mascot event. I think we're gonna change the sanctions for mascots,
Yeah.
because no one called them. Buying around for everyone there is just not practical. So we'll come up with something, but have a mascot up there. Maybe we'll make you,
Shotgun here.
no, that's, I don't know.
Burpees.
Zulu warrior.
Burpees.
Something.
Safety
Herpes.
Everyone, we really don't need to bring up a case of beer this year, because we won't have as many people.
But we'll have more
You
leisure
still have
time,
money
so
from last year.
Well, no, we have 12 matches a day. We won't have leisure time,
that's true.
But we will need that beer.
but we'll need beer afterwards.
And
Muddles and Jimmys?
well, whatever you like to drink. If you bring up a case of this, you go immediately for this stuff.
Yeah, if you bring up the generic beer and go for the high quality stuff, it's a no-go.
Coors Light is not an acceptable option.
That's fine. If you drink Coors Light, that's fine, but if you bring up taps, and you start going for the dentist,
Is case defined as a 24?
Correct.
yeah,
Alright.
bring for
It's
beer.
not wine.
Is
You bring a
anyone-
case of wine if you want.
I don't
You
know,
can't
that's,
bring
that's
12.
more bang for the buck.
Again, we're gonna be like down at the hill a lot, not really up watching in the apartments, hanging out. I think Gary is gonna make chili. Is anyone else gonna venture to try and make anything for community food? A chili, a stew,
I can convince.
lasagna,
We'll make something.
yeah.
You know, I'll bring something too.
Just, I mean, you don't have to bring a lot, just, enough.
Gary, you know.
I'm good. Gallon
There's only
a
gonna be
person.
like 25 people there, kind of floating in. There's only 3 significant others coming, so it's not a lot of people.
So 20 gallons.
Trying to make it edible and not float out your ass.
Guys, I apologize. No Thai peppers in the chili this year. Just an experiment with your ass.
We will have a dinner
Saturday night.
Saturday night. I don't know where it will be, either in the basement, hopefully upstairs. Yeah. So, up to you and
Any questions of why we had to cut back? Was my explanation enough?
okay.
It's kind of interesting they asked would choose to demo the field before the tournament.
Well, it's not
It's not
them,
this,
it's the city.
Yeah, but you would think that the city gets some benefit of people coming and.
Well, what they're trying to do this year, and one of the thoughts that the guy was going through is, if we keep the numbers down, the city will see the lack of income this weekend, and they will be jerking it to be better for us in the future.
I would think that people.
But the trouble with that pitch is used frequently for all sorts of different events.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, they have the food and beverage.
That's their big money maker.
Food
Food and Wine Fest.
And so, and that's like 2 weeks before Aspen. So, I mean, they decided that they have to dig it up sometime. When's the best time?
Can't do it for winter.
Yeah, it's hard to do it, so.
Well, for sure.
How does next year look? I mean, are they gonna,
Like next year.
We're gonna attempt
Yeah,
to
worry
bring
about
it
this
to
year
a full
first.
term. So that's their goal.
Hopefully the tournament recovers and we're back on schedule.
hopefully this doesn't affect us before.
Hey, go out and recruit some teams.
They're actually, they just changed all their leadership. They were telling me today how they found out that they're already working with people for next year.
That's Jack Nicholson.
Okay.
Are they gonna start another Division I team, you guys say?
No.
Did we already finish the website update, or we're gonna really do the whole thing?
We talked about it during
Schedule.
scheduling.
Notice that my availability is not.
You guys go to Provo?
That's not through the website. Ever.
What?
It's not on the website.
Yeah, I'll go. Depends. Depends.
All right.
This just turned to
I'm
fall.
not from this over there, but
Yeah, I wanna go.
I can say it great. It's not, everybody's Johnny Ruby.
You want the HTML? HTML thing?
I don't have the HDMI output. Anyway, the website's up,
How are we gonna see Johnny Rugby?
RockyMountainRegDRS.com. The thing that everybody really cares about is the appointments. It's up. If you haven't gone there yet, once you go to the homepage, it's very easy to find other appointments on the menu bar, or there's a little icon that looks like a calendar. Click on that, and it'll take you to the assignments. And as Flappy mentioned, we do have assignments up for the weekend. So far, there's a few changes pending. So check back in with that. I will say though, because the GU site's not up yet, this will normally be duplicated on the GU site. The teams may have a hard time getting working this week. So, considering that tomorrow is a normal day for teams that have reached out, for those of you who are assigned, you might need to get in touch with those clubs proactively.
The senior clubs are getting emailed with the contact information for their rep.
Perfect. So,
Is the first team usually the home team?
first team is the home team, right? So, Colorado State men versus CSU alumni, which was this weekend.
Yeah, that's good. Colorado State.
Yeah, so, but, sorry. I just mentioned Aspen versus Colorado Springs. That's in Aspen. So, Mr. Haggerty is
Okay, they both know the
schlep on up there. So,
That's a good dress. That's a good dress.
so yeah, Aspen, the first team is the home team. So if you don't hear from them, that's what you need to get after. So,
But we don't have we still got, is the ERRFU site?
There's some DNS server issues on switching over. It should be resolved this week. It's built.
But where do we go find club contact?
club contact, club contact.
Club contacts will be on the club pages, so you'll be able to go to Boulder Rugby and boom, there's their contacts.
So
Assuming they fill out the
search
form.
Denver Harlequins. Okay, whatever.
Is the stuff on the old site still somewhat legit?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Still up. If it's a senior club, you can also just email me, because I'm a club rep. So.
there you go. So, our referee contact information's up there on the site as well. If you haven't looked at it recently, go online and do so. John, we just updated his today. The contact information is the same as what's in the availability spreadsheet. So there's a couple tabs across the bottom of the availability spreadsheet. One says contact info, your address, all that fun stuff, email. Make sure that's up to date because that's what gets fed into the website. So if you look at the website, there's something wrong, go fix it on the availability site. Shoot me a note just to let me know that there was a change. Hopefully I'm going to resolve this into the future, probably over the winter, to make sure everything's on one. Right now they're separate, just in terms of making things easier. But just keep that in mind. The other thing, Steve, Mastermind, the notifications, so for those of you who are signed, they did come out. I confirmed with several of you that they indeed came out. We don't need to do much more with them at this point. If for some reason we find out that your venue's changed or the time has changed, you should get an update from that. So make sure that you're not getting those in your spam folders. And other than that, this is the website's y'all's, so you have stuff you want to see, content, let me know, figure it out. So otherwise, it's going to be a work in progress over the next 6 months to a year. So.
Also, on the notifications, they're calendar invites, so you'll have the option to accept, decline, or say maybe. It doesn't do anything if you do that. So if you don't want a match, don't just hit decline. Like actually contact Gary about that. It'd be really cool of you.
We are going to look into that.
Maybe. Figure that one out.
We are going to look into if you say no,
maybe.
that it lets Gary and or Gilligan know automatically.
So functionally, the website really, for the appointments, in terms of match reports, et cetera, go to the old website, fill that out, et cetera.
So there it is.
That'll be up before the weekend. So go to Rocky Mountain Rugby Refs, Main Stewart, it'll be up there.
For match reports? Yeah.
So right now, right now, if you were to go to the site, it says match reports and take you to the old place.
Okay.
As soon as the new one's up, I'll link it to
So there's a tab.
the new one. Yeah, there's it's right on the very front page.
Okay.
And it says match reporting. There's a link to the Rugby Colorado match report, and there's a link to ERRFU. So,
If anyone wants to get it right in the script,
So
it
starting
produces
this
out a Google
weekend,
Doc to show you exactly what you submitted, that's the piece that's hanging it up. So, unless everyone's really cool
talk to
with
that
it.
guy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You have a script for that?
I'll talk to me about it.
He makes it pretty quick.
But then, but we're still going to the Colorado, the Rugby Colorado website. for all-
Yeah, so right now, it's still two different ones. Rocky Mountain, or the old ERRFU, and Rugby Colorado. But both links are there. They'll take you where you need to go. Mr. Covers.
that covers it.
Okay.
I gotta say, that's a pretty nice picture on the cover there.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So for tournaments, is it possible to put
Slow the game
balls?
down, Brian.
So, yes, it is. I don't know about notifying them just yet, because right now it's set up that only 4 people can get notified. The ref, AR1 and 2, and the PR/coach. So, I don't know about how we're gonna get 15 people notified for Aspen.
You just have to go to the calendar, like, on the actual calendar,
You might have to forward it.
and then just put the email address.
Well, yeah, but somebody would have to do that in their email box. You can't do it off the.
Right, just be me.
A lot of the country doesn't have email notifications, so.
Yeah, we're
Just get in a
already,
good habit of
we're
looking
already-
at the website once a week anyway.
I'm the only one not.
So-
get on this one.
So just being able to, we can put 20 names in a box?
we can put 20 names in the box, yeah. So for, let's say for Jackalope, there's a notes section in here, and you can say Mark Nelson's prick, and then Geiger Huff, Fellows, whoever else is going to Jackalope.
Where's the notes section?
So the notes section, are you looking at it right now?
In my office.
So, you see appointments and it says, below the, division information of the league/friendly
Oh, notes there.
notes, that's where it would pop up.
So you just put everybody,
Everybody you wanna put in there,
put it there.
put in there. And they'll show up there, so. But, if whoever's the primary ref in charge should be the ref.
So Gary, do that for Jackalope based on what Mark just announced and see what happens.
Well,
Wanna do it right now?
See what happens.
we gotta see if they're all registered.
Well,
Basically, Dave and Stu are, and DeCroix and, what else did I say?
Dean's got a game this weekend, so he's got to register.
Deacon,
Yeah.
what else did I say? How many people?
Creed?
Oh,
Dave?
Huff.
Chris Huff is registered.
so Mark, you're correct.
Yeah.
Who else was it?
Chris Huff, Eric DeCroix, Dave Fellows, Stu Geiger, and English. Great.
What's his name?
Scott Baker.
Scott Baker. So, what I'm doing right now is, sending notifications. Tom, I'm gonna put you as AR1. So,
You coming up?
No, I just want to see,
I'm gonna show you how it works.
okay, I understand that, but I just wanted to see what it shows up as on the screen.
Okay, hang on, we'll do it in just a second. You'll have to refresh your page, but.
Tell me when.
That's it.
I only got 5% of my battery left.
Neighbor dog's leash.
Should update within the next 5 minutes.
We
Alright, so that's the website, assignments, anybody got any questions? Make sure your contact information's up to date, otherwise the notifications, again, the email won't work. And if you have good pictures, again, let's get some other pictures other than Zap, so.
And then what do you do after the match, everyone?
Drink a beer.
Hi,
And your match report.
On to match reports.
argue with the losing team's coach.
Please, Carmen County record.
You want presentation or 5-year plan?
Just a quick overview of the fact.
That's your presentation on the 5-year plan.
Yeah. Somebody wanted these printed out, so I printed out 3. Here you go. So 5-year plan. Mike Blois, Kaja, and Justin Tafoya, who does referees for the rugby program, got together at the beginning of this year and put together a 5-year plan. We looked at the survey that we all filled out last year and used that to kind of evaluate where the society is. So that's at the beginning of the 5-year plan, and then we looked at that information along with a couple different scenarios for what could happen with rugby in Colorado, and came up with a set of goals that line up with USA Rugby's strategic plan. It's broken out, I think, into 5 different segments. And then we broke it out into 2 phases. One was 2015, again to line up with USA Rugby, and one is 2018 to be 5 years. So that came out in email to everyone months ago, and there's a couple copies here. I think the next thing that the 5-year plan committee envisioned was that somehow as a society we would ratify this. And maybe that's the EC saying, yes, this is our plan. Maybe that is us collectively saying that's our plan. Maybe it's the EC saying, no, this isn't right, go back and do it. But honestly, we haven't heard any feedback from the EC about it. So I think that's the next step, is some sort of either ratification or feedback. Questions?
So if everybody's really happy tonight, we're ratified, we have feedback, we'll take it into consideration.
Okay, well, maybe this is not. How do I do this? Alright, I don't really need it. Okay, so presentation. People asked a few of us to put together presentations on interesting things that maybe we are struggling with. So my presentation is on self-control. Can anyone who can read really well? Everybody know what this is? An arm, good. Does anyone know whose arm it is or what it says? Okay, Steve Walsh, international referee, says, "He who controls himself controls the game." So, pretty interesting.
Why didn't you take a picture of your arm?
Doesn't say anything yet.
It will. I got a sharp.
We'll get there. So, question for people. Why does self-control as a referee matter? Does it matter? Anyone? Okay. Why?
Because if you are not in control of yourself, you cannot be in control of anything else.
You can't make a rational decision being out of control.
Okay. Love it.
It helps maintain objectivity.
Okay. This is pretty funny.
You can't write with pins.
Okay, rational decisions. Objectivity. Just talk about it then. Objectivity. You said it was everything. If you can't control yourself, you can't control anything. Other thoughts? Why is self-control important, Jim?
Well, to keep your temper down, keep
Okay.
other tempers down.
Yeah, lovely. What's the opposite of that? Me.
Better.
Okay, yes, right. You can contribute to tempers rising and people fighting. Other thoughts? Why it's important to have self-control? I had another one that I wrote down, and that was maintaining your options out there. So I watched a 7th match where a referee was at a scrum, you know, high school scrum half, talking, and the guy looks at him and goes, "Shut the fuck up!" The referee says that. And so the kid, of course, turns to him and says, "You shut the fuck up." And so what options does the referee have at that point, right? It's a pretty tough thing to then penalize someone for saying exactly what you said, or yellow carding or red carding. So I think as you lose control, and it doesn't have to be that extreme, you lose some of your options that you have.
And that's why they're doing the background check.
Nice, thank you, Zoe. Okay, so any other thoughts on why self-control is important? Everyone on board that it is? That it's very important?
Life skill.
Okay, I mean, you know,
It's a metaphor for what that.
what was your comment?
Would you say it's a life skill?
Okay, yeah, perfect. Yes, rugby is a metaphor for life. So, another question. What is self-control? What does self-control look like on a rugby field?
Calm, cool, and collected.
Calm, cool, and collected. Love it. What else? Stu?
I'm just gonna say, keeping your voice down, quiet.
Quiet. Okay.
Fair and rational.
Fair and rational. Awesome.
Smooth and consistent.
Consistent, smooth.
Being effective without being authoritative.
Okay, good. Body language. That's a great one. I didn't have that written down, but absolutely.
I think it's a physical and emotional projection of leadership. I think ultimately you're the leader on the field. If you're physically and emotionally in control, you're going to lead that whole thing.
Okay. Good. Other thoughts?
Yeah, I want, adding on to that is that you set the tone for the respect aspect, mutual respect between the players, between the fans and the player, between the coaches. So if you maintain that self-control, you can set the tone for that.
I think you're right. I think it encourages them to reciprocate, right?
Right.
Like, I don't know where I got in the habit, but I say please and thank you. I'm like, pack down, please. And I don't know where I got the habit, but it seems to work for me.
Okay. So, I mean, it sounds like lots of ideas as far as what it looks like, right? A lot of good adjectives, descriptions about it. For whatever it's worth, the IRB L2 course has 4 points of self-control. One is knowing yourself and your behaviors. Next is dealing in facts, not emotions. Keeping in the moment, and then, this I think is very stupid, but circle of excellence theory, which is visualizing a positive controlled experience, helps you to then have a positive controlled experience, which then helps you to visualize it, which helps you to have it. So not that that's any more right or wrong, but that's what the IRB course says. I think there's an interesting quote that relates to self-control that would look really good on the TV screen here or written on the whiteboard, but neither of those things are going to happen. So the quote is, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." So that's, again, as you said, like a life skill, right? That's a much larger idea than just a rugby field. But I think the idea of self-control, all of those things that we talked about, a lot of them, not all of them, boil down to creating time, creating space between a stimulus, right? Someone's yelling at me, or there's hands in that ruck, or that fan is running onto the field, and our response. And having more time in there to be able to create and control our response. So, okay, we talked about why self-control is important and what it is. How do we get self-control? And I'm going to try it with this pen. And this is my answer. How do we get self-control?
Yay!
Through science. So,
I was going to say God.
I was going to say Jesus.
yeah, well, but that's it, right? I think there's a lot of people thought out there that says, you know, self-control, personality, you know, your character is something that is kind of innate and something you're born with. But if you were to ask, you know, Brian, Zach, how do I get faster? What would you say?
You do speed work, drills, workout,
Yeah.
same way.
Which is based basically in science, right? It's like you have a goal, it's a physical goal, you're gonna do training, you're gonna apply principles of science to training to get better at something. So I think the exact same thing is true of self-control, right? Is that you can take a scientific and methodical training approach to becoming better at self-control. And if you want, you can look at it from neuroscience and how the brain works, or you can just kind of look at it from this is common sense and makes sense that if you practice certain things, you can improve your self-control. So, what are some of the things, I'm not going to write them down, that we can practice to improve self-control? Aggie. Okay. Eric.
Videotape yourself so you actually know your flaws are.
Stick a recorder in your pocket as you're running.
Okay, good. So basically getting feedback on yourself, okay, and then analyzing feedback. So that's good. I think those are great ways to improve yourself as a referee, and it helps you identify areas where you don't have a lot of self-control. So maybe you're talking really quickly, or maybe you're blowing your whistle 3 times. So yeah, good. Feedback. What else?
Yoga and breathing technique.
Cool. So, breathing. Love it. That's one of the things that I do a lot because I breathe very heavily and hard when I'm running. But I think it's true, right? I mean, there's a whole science and practice of yoga and meditation that's about focusing on your breathing and using that to calm down and have better awareness and slow things down, create that space. So I think absolutely focusing on breathing and breathing appropriately. So when's a good time to do that, Jim?
Actually, anytime. Getting more oxygen to your brain makes your brain function better. Go back to science.
Okay. Yes, agreed. Are there
Well,
times
when you
in
get
the
all
game
pumped
where
up.
it's maybe easier to do, okay, when you're pumped up? So maybe after you blow your whistle twice because you're going to talk to someone, that's a good time to say like, hey, let me take 2 deep breaths. Other good times to think about breathing?
When you're out of breath.
When you're out of breath? Fuck yeah, man. It's science right there. How about after a score? Right? So after there's been a try or a penalty, you know, you're headed back to halfway, there's some time there. Good time to say, hey, let's take a couple deep breaths, think about what the match is. Eric.
It's important to think about breathing when you're training, so you develop proper habits while you're doing it. If you're constantly holding your breath when you're sprinting while you're training, you're probably going to do that in a game.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we're kind of lucky here, right? Because in Colorado, there's less oxygen, especially if you go to the mountains. So even just like, I was up there 2 weeks ago hiking, and it was like, oh, I need to like calm my breathing down and get oxygen. Yeah, love it. What are some ways we can remember to, say, work on breathing?
Prior to the game
Go over it? So
visualize the game.
visualize the game?
To practice cues, sort of like visualizing. I know when I'm about to make a big decision, I'll step backwards and give myself more time while the players come to me.
Yeah.
And that's when I'll choose to breathe and think.
So 1 second. So you said cues, I wrote down triggers. I think it's basically the same thing. And, you know, I've heard of a lot of different ones. So taking a step back is a cue to say, hey, I need to breathe, give myself another second. Okay, to Tom's point, I write B on my hands in a big Sharpie so that I look at it and say, oh, yeah, I need to remember to breathe. I was ARing for Gilligan, and he said, hey, you know, if this sort of thing happens, shout at me. Just shout something, and it triggers in him, hey, I want to work on this thing. Somebody said even just like pinching yourself. You know, that you're getting ready for a lineup, just do one of these things, remember to think about, breathing or your technical things for lineups. So, triggers, cues, I think, same idea. Eric.
Same idea. I was just going to say I like to write it on my scorecard, the 1 or 2 things I'm working on.
Yep, every time you open it up, there it is.
Short of a 6-3 game, you're probably going to look at your scorecard a couple times.
Yeah. Steve, you talked about visualization before. I think that's awesome. I used to visualize like, oh, okay, here's a tackle. You know, here's what a tackle looks like from a technical perspective. Here's a good one, here's a bad one. You know, here's a bad ruck, here's a good ruck. And I think that's good from a law perspective, but I think visualization of like, hey, here's a calm referee, right? Here's Craig Joubert, all sorts of shit going on here, looking at it, doesn't really care, arm up, whistle, right? Like playing that in your mind, I think that's a great one. Other thoughts as far as how we can train our brains and ourselves to have more self-control. Okay, I put this together, so I have a couple others. We've kind of touched on this a little bit, but one is fitness, right? So, hey, as we get tired, generally the first thing that goes is your brain and your self-control. So the more fit you are, the longer you'll be able to maintain that level. Another one is rehearsing. So raise your hand here if you have, you know, a set pre-game chat that you go over. Every time it's basically the exact same with front rows, captain, scrum half, whomever. Yeah. Okay, so good. So a pretty good number. So, you know, I think what that does is it makes it easier on your brain, right? You're like, this is what I'm going to say. You don't have to sit there and kind of stumble and bumble and think about it. But it doesn't have to just be that, right? I mean, maybe it's even better to rehearse more tense situations, right? So that send-off speech or that warning for repeated infringements, but to think about what you're going to say and practice it. I think along with that is having some routines can help with self-control so that you're not flustered. So, you know, I had a teammate back when I was playing who every night before a game would polish his boots. It's just what worked with him. You know, I think it's find whatever works for you and try to go through that before each match so that, you know, again, it's that familiar feeling. You're not rushed, you're not flustered. It's something you've done a million times. You're under control. And then you mentioned yoga. I don't have yoga on here, but I have meditation and relaxation. It's honestly not anything I've ever tried, but I want to, and I think it makes sense. Right? I mean, if we were to work on fitness or speed, you would go through a program of exercising your muscles for fitness and speed. I think that meditation and to some degree relaxation is a program for exercising your brain to try to give you more control. That's what I got.
Another thing though, frustration comes from not knowing the law and not knowing what call to make. And you, since everybody else knows you don't know, how frustrating can that be? How you get up into a different level and don't think right, but knowing the law and being confident.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And I think some of them flow together, right? I think that being confident can flow from having self-control, and I think having self-control can come from being confident, and being confident can come from knowing the laws, or at least thinking you know the laws.
I would say building off of a lot of those, especially on the routine piece, I found that it started getting easier for me when I started the hour before my game when I was there, preparing as though I was going to play. I got a really bad habit for a long time, walking around, talking to everybody, you know, kind of dicking around. And just turning that off made it so much easier. So going off of the routine thing. You might do that as a player.
Who here has not been frustrated or taken offense at something that's happened on a pitch while you're refereeing? Exactly. Why do you take offense at a guy that puts his hand in the rough? Do you do it to upset you? Or do you do it because he's trying to cheat? Or do you do it because he's dumb?
Probably 2 and 3.
It's never going to be number one in the middle of the match. Okay? It's going to be number 2 or 3. Don't take offense at it. It happened. It's a fact. Treat. You did it. It's done. There's no sense ever to get riled up with somebody breaking the law.
What if a big prop just throws you to the ground?
I'm talking breaking the law during play.
That's very play.
Well, I've been run over. That's a whole different story.
Push.
And I get pushed. And I did take offense, and that was the one time I was in a match. Well, the first time he to push me didn't bother me, but when he came back through and gave me a farm shiver, blew the whistle, said, "You're out of here," and kicked him out of the game. But that's, you know, you shouldn't have to be upset with what a player's done, because most of the time it's not directed at you. There are times they're directed at you, and that's when you have to step back and take a deep breath. "You stupid shit," or "You motherfucker," "You dumb," whatever they call you. You step back, come here. We're not going to, you know, carry on like this today. We're not going to have comments like that today. If it continues, you're done. If Brian addresses it before the match, he's already said if you do it, you're gone. So if you haven't told them before the match, give them one, then it's done. They're gone. But you still, is there any reason for you to be upset about it? The fact that they called you, whatever they called you, is a fact. Okay, you call me that, fair enough, that's your opinion. You can have your opinion on the sideline. So, keeping calm is just realizing that most of what happens on the rugby pitch is not directed against you. And if you do everything that Steve talked about, and then not feel as though it's directed at you, it makes it much easier to stay calm.
And I think that, I don't know, to me, like a piece of that is, you know, you have that immediate emotional reaction to either hands on the rock or someone saying something to you, right? And it comes back to that stimulus reaction space kind of diagram. And if you can find ways to increase that space so you can look at it rationally and say, put his hand in the rock because he's a fat prop falling down or because he's a flanker that's trying to cheat, then it's no longer about you. You've had that kind of rational decision, and then you can just penalize him and move on and not get offended.
Or you can have the time and space to say, "Oh, that one didn't really matter. I'll whisper to him as I go by. Don't let it happen again," and you can play on. But if you have the time and the calmness to do it, you're good to go.
Questions? Thoughts?
I had an interesting experience, Mark probably remembers it. At one of the Sevens events, the couple of the IRB guys came in and started talking to each other about how many words, they had a competition on how few words they could say in a Sevens match. You know, so it's definitely different than 15s, but you know, you just hear this little banter between them, "Oh, only 7 or something." And it blew us away. We started talking about it after the left, like, whoa, you know, they're actually really trying to practice this, like, you know, less is best attitude and really saying nothing. And I think that goes a lot along with all of this, you know, is mastering yourself also is also not in that running dialogue throughout the game. It's just really concentrating on what you do have to arbitrate out there, and you do have to, you know, put your foot into. And if you're doing it the whole game, it's obviously just creating more opportunities for you to fluster or get so that it be, you know, conflicting with you. And I just thought that was an interesting experience.
Cool.
Yeah, I think, never mind, sorry. The record was 11.
11.
It was
11 words.
English ref.
In a Sevens.
A good English ref that's coming up.
Luke?
Yeah,
Pierce.
11.
Pierce. Wow, it
Yeah.
sounds like Luke Hume, but that's a player. 11.
Luke Pierce, yeah.
All right, thanks guys.
Next time we want video.
A good pen.
Yeah, let's
Let's
put it on
just
whiteboard.
start right there.
That guy.
We didn't move the
Next time we want you to get a tattoo on your arm.
I have a quick kind of law question.
Just a second, can you send the 5-year plan out to the group?
Can, yes.
We'll give a week or 2 for comments. That way at next meeting, if there's nothing huge, we can have it right there, since we really think of it.
Yep.
Okay, Dave.
So, blue knocks the ball on, white gets control of the ball. White kind of immediately gets tackled. So at the knock-on, since White got possession, you're gonna try to play a little bit advantage. White gets tackled, and the blue player who tags him doesn't release him. So you're gonna say, well, okay, it's a penalty against blue for not releasing, but from the standpoint of the advantage, is the advantage over when he gets tackled in your own mind to the point where you're not gonna play it on after that to allow that penalty to happen, so you can go back to the first infringement of the knock-on and give White a scrum?
99% of the time it's gonna be White scrum. If the tackler then punches the dude.
Well, yeah, no, it was just clearly just like, at what point in time you're gonna say, hey, the advantage was over, they're not gonna take that anywhere, and so.
Don't play a knock-on advantage into a penalty.
Yeah, that's
Unless
the
it's
question.
an immediate thing, like a knock-on, the player from the same team grabs it
Right,
and prevents
right,
any chance of it. That he plays with a penalty.
Yeah,
But anything else you can call it, you see it's not gonna happen, so you call it up before it becomes a penalty.
right, that's kind of.
Or if it's like White and 5 of his teammates against one blue player.
Right, I think that's
obviously,
different, but.
Don't automatically play advantage right off a knock. You can just say knock on, let it breathe for a little bit, see if advantage is going to accrue, then you can put advantage on. And you're not playing advantage for that knock on. Just, that's all control. Like, knock on, put your hand out, you saw it, then the blue team, they have possession of it, they get tackled right away, they not gain the ground,
Yeah, so
they spill it, then you go
advantage.
right there.
Yeah, that's
So then
right.
you never really put advantage on, and you didn't not gain advantage because you never really put it on. Not that you guys care about how much you gain or don't gain advantage, but just give it a second. Just let it breathe.
Well, the coach on the sideline, as soon as your hand goes out, thinks there's advantage.
Well, that's fine, but that's not.
But that's
So that's
also,
not advantage.
you're indicating to everybody you've seen something.
Right.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, the difference though, and I think the purpose behind what Mark's saying is that you want advantage to be real and true, so that almost when you say advantage, it might even ignite fire under the game such that somebody might take an extra chance or something, instead of advantage, and there's clearly nothing, just knock on, quick scrum.
Yeah, this is just the White team said, oh, but the guy didn't release me as a penalty, it's like, we're going back to the scrum.
Right.
That's basically what happened. So.
I mean-
Does yelling advantage count as one of the 7 words?
Well, again, like you just don't want to run around saying advantage on, advantage over. Just you sound like an
I
idiot.
said it, I'm just saying that it was just, in my own mind, it was like, the advantage probably was going to be gained, so.
Was it the scrum half for the alumni team that said that?
I think most of the failure is calling it too quickly.
Right.
It can't go
Just
too long.
just let it breathe.
Yeah.
Well, that's the habits we get into. I mean,
You
you
call it
see
too
something,
quickly and,
you
oh God, I should let it go.
well, because if you don't say anything, you know people are going to say, oh, knock on, sir, blah, 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 but it's okay. I mean, sometimes I like that. I give them that little worry for a second.
If you really want to take your refereeing to the next level, you gotta like start recording and saying, did this benefit the game for me to say this at this time? Was it clear to everyone that this gray team had a clear advantage and they were really going to try and exercise their options? Or am I just saying it and now it's just white noise and I said advantage 85 times today? I mean, if you really want to get taking refereeing serious, you should buy an $85 dictaphone, strap it to your mic and get going with it. And you'll be surprised how often you talk.
35.
Whatever.
And the bottom line is, good referees, when they say advantage, it's gained 60 to 80% of the time.
Yeah, we strive for 60%.
I've heard the argument a lot that at local levels compared to national levels that you need to talk more because the players are high school or youth or whatever, they don't know what they're doing and this and that. But I would agree to some extent, but I would also argue that that's where you really need to be more concise with your communication than, or at least equally as concise. Because if you're telling a bunch of high school kids, Division III men, what to do, and you have all these filler words like advantage this, advantage over, all these things that are not always necessary, or roll away at every breakdown, then it becomes white noise. Then when you really do need them to follow instruction, they're already tuning you out. But if you're on that 11 words a game, you better believe when you say back up, you're gonna back up.
You know, we do definitely hear, try talking guys out of the penalty
Right. Well,
constantly.
Well, you still do.
I think that's a great thing to do, but if you record yourself and you recognize, like I did at one point, that every breakdown I was saying tackle or release, or every breakdown I was saying roll away.
Or ruck, I got a bad one.
And there, you notice all these things that you just habituated into your communication, that every breakdown you say something. Now I go out and I try to say nothing at every breakdown. Sometimes I go, oh, okay. Good.
Well, sometimes when the ruck is formed, though, you wanna let them know, hey,
But
you're
the only
up.
time you don't know, is somebody's still trying to reach for the ball.
That's right. If you see
Tap.
that, potentially, hands out white, something like that.
Or rock, and if you have to say roll away or tackle or release, it's already too late.
Well, but aren't you trying to keep the ball in play?
There's a rare
You're trying to create a burst of a sound here. If you have to say release tackler, he's already slowed it down. It's just,
He's already done what
it's
he
just
wanted
best
to
to,
do.
like if it's early in the game, just penalize him and then set that standard this way.
If it's early in the game. That's
Well,
the penalty.
Yeah. But then again, if like you're having to go back
Yeah.
and it's 60 minutes of the game and you're still having to say release tackler, well then you got to go back in your preparation and go, obviously I'm not hammering and setting enough standard on the tackler that I'm having an issue 80 minutes into it or 60 minutes into it.
I mean, if early in the game, you say release, tackler release, and he does it slowly, and you don't call it, what standard did you just set? They won't do it until you tell them to,
Yeah,
and then they still may not.
And then they become dependent on
If
you.
early in the game, you go tweak, tackler, release, everybody, we have to be quicker today. You've got your point across to everybody all of a sudden.
I can tell you one thing that's happened to me, I don't know if you guys are experiencing this as well, is that the tackler assist not releasing is happening all the time. They don't know what they're supposed to do, because they're not being coached about releasing and then trying to push the ball. They're going down with hands on the ball and they're not releasing, and they don't even know what they're doing wrong. Anybody else see that?
Yeah.
I always make a point before the game, talk about the tackler assist.
No, it's yeah.
I mean,
Depends on the level, but you don't want to get too much.
I'm not doing that high level shit. So.
No, I know, but still, you don't want to get too much. I think we'd like to have a clear, defined standard in the match and penalize it, and then just set that expectation. It's
I
just
mean,
not.
this is where we all know clubs in our area. I mean, it's always beneficial for us to try to be steward of the game and show up to a practice. It doesn't take that much time. They always appreciate it. It always bridges that gap a little bit. Those are great opportunities to, do it. I try to do that for CU every now and then and stuff like that.
I think.
Still need to be reminded.
If you tell them before the game, like we're saying here, they forget everything you said before the game. But if the first time the tackler assist doesn't release, you blow it, you got 30 people that are listening all of a sudden because the whistle blew, and you say if you're on your feet, you must release the ball before you go back and get it, period. And then you're done. They know now that that's the law. If you tell them ahead of time, they're not going to know it, but now you've got their attention, they actually saw it happen, so it's in their brain. If you say you must roll faster, shit, I thought I was going faster, I gotta go faster.
That
And
tackle
it's-
assist is definitely a challenging one, though. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
even at the top
International
range
is still
sevens, I mean, I was pinging the shit out of those English guys because they didn't get it either,
They got it, they just didn't want
They
it.
didn't care.
But it's even at, Cerebi,
At higher level.
international, whatever level stuff, they're still tackle assist all the time. They accept it better because they understand it more. So That was probably the number one penalty we put on it.
We're trying to hold them up now.
Yeah. So, yeah. it's
Anything else? Other things? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Here. First Tuesday next month.
Is it Tuesday or Monday? I thought you were going Monday. You said October, you're gonna go.